Hi, this is Brian Pash, and you better get ready for an exciting podcast interview on today's show. We're doing video, wow, for the first time for a podcast because we're talking about video communication. And I'm here with Margaret Henney, and she is the director of marketing and a video strategist with CoVideo. And she suggested, Brian, don't do just audio. Let's do audio and video. Margaret, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you for being willing to jump on video here with me. I appreciate you. I didn't have to twist your arm too much. You were open to it, so thanks so much for indulging me in the power of video.
Well, absolutely. And I was commenting, I have a stack of books behind me. That's because I've been sending out books to dealership leaders, marketing managers, just to encourage their education. This stack is Elon Musk's new book, and it's really a fascinating story. But I send out kind of a mix of books depending on the person I'm sending to. And it's also great to know that CoVideo is investing in dealer education. You're one of the sponsors at the Modern Retailing Conference. You're going to be joining me on stage in beautiful Palm Beach in November. So let's kick off our conversation with the power of video. Today, dealers are very focused on emails, some even on texting, but I would say that dealers are not always enthusiastic about video communication, yet we are on Zoom calls or Google Meet calls every day. The barrier has dropped. It's no longer creepy. What do you say to dealers who haven't fully embraced a video strategy? What are you able to share that would really help them move that needle and making a decision to get a demo of the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot to share. First of all, I want to just corroborate what you were saying there with dealers really relying on email and text. And I'm not suggesting that those go away, right?
Right, sure.
We want to make sure that all of these things are part of our communication mix. We want to have a diversified, just like our investment portfolios, right? We want to diversify how we're communicating with people. And video is a great way to do that. I think it's really a little bit ironic. I get to rib dealers a little bit every now and then when they, are reluctant to be on video. And then I ask them, hey, what's it like when you're in person with someone at your dealership?
For
Oh,
sure.
it's great. We're able to talk face to face. I get to be, my charming self, or my team does as well. And I say, hey, yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. That's what most salespeople tell me. So let's do that for you. Let's build that bridge between being in person, which is always the gold standard of communication and where we want people to be. But then, the necessary evils, of course, of, email and text, we got to use those in order to get them to in person. And video is that bridge.
Yeah. And Margaret, my brother Glenn, who spends a lot of time with our clients coaching on sales process, he typically says, take a look at these email templates, take a look at these text messages. They don't look or sound anything like you would talk to somebody if they showed up. And one of his coaching tips is, hey, if somebody was in your showroom, what's the first thing you would ask them? What's the second thing you ask them? And of course, email is so transactional. It's not real time. It gets buried. Texting a little bit better. Most people see their texts right away. But when you can communicate passion, excitement, the visualization, talking with your hands, as all good Italians do. The idea of video creating that feeling of authenticity and credibility. So what do you say to dealers? Is like, oh, my people are always worried about what they look like or how they sound like. I can't get them over that, hump. But, we know that they would visit with somebody if they came in the dealership. Where's the disconnect of vanity, or is it something else that has nothing to do with the way we look?
Yeah, it's a little bit about that, Brian. I think sometimes when we think about video, we're actually still thinking about commercials. We're thinking about really
perfect commercials.
Yeah, perfect. Where there's a soundtrack and it's edited and there's a perfect background and there's a perfect looking person on there. And those are all great, but that is a different kind of video than what we're talking about. We're
Right.
talking about, I like people to think about these as video voicemails. So we're not coming up with a script. We're not memorizing anything. We're not trying to be perfect. In fact, those little imperfections are what make you you.
That's
That's
right.
our customers and our buyers, when they see something in themselves of someone else or they remind them of someone, then we get to start to build that real human connection. And that's because as humans, we are wired for connection. Our brains light up in different ways when we see someone, they hear their voice, when we get to see how, like you said, they talk with their hands a bunch. You can probably tell a little bit. I'm from the Midwest. I have a very nasally, not very attractive voice, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's what I sound like, right? It's who
Right. And
I am.
one of the first things I commented to you when we before we hit the record button, I was like, I love your smile, and different people resonate in different ways. The first thing I said, wow, she's a happy person. I already like her.
Right.
But one other thing that, without sounding depressing,
Mm,
there's more and more studies that COVID
mm,
really broke a lot of the socialization frameworks that have held our society together. So not only that, but people who are ordering DoorDash or Uber Eats instead of going out and picking up food, people who are ordering things online instead of going to the shopping center or to Best Buy. People are more isolated than
yep.
ever, and the stats show that people are more lonely and they are really creating an unsustainable
Mhm,
model. And I think one of the things that hits me about video, and
mhm.
of course, I'm on video a lot, so I believe in it. I believe I go live stream on LinkedIn. Why do I do it? I believe video works. Yes, I write a lot, but I'm not just writing. I just believe that seeing that human interaction, someone goes on the website, is interested in a car. I
Mhm.
love the fact that we can start a video, you know, conversation, and then even go out to the car, do the walk around, really be bi-directional. So, Margaret, tell me best practice in addition to responding to a lead inquiry with video
Mhm.
and trying to have a conversation real time. What are some other best use cases? Help dealers imagine
Mhm.
how they could be using the platform to be more engaging.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad that you brought up responding to a lead because I personally think that that is the lowest hanging fruit
Sure.
because using video is one of your greatest tools. And oftentimes I'll hear people, usually they might be trying to make some excuses because they're a little bit nervous about being on camera or whatever, and they'll use it as a last ditch effort. I say, no, let's not use our best weapon for the end. Let's lead with that.
That's
So,
right.
first and foremost, when you get a new lead in, perfect opportunity to send them a personalized video. And you can do that either from your desk, from your phone, out on the lot. Don't overcomplicate it. Video is always going to be your best tool there. So even if you don't have a lot of time, a real quick, simple video that says, hey, Brian, got your message here. I see you've got some questions. I'm in the middle of something, but I wanted to let you know I saw that.
Mm,
I'm going to be getting back to you and giving you a call. Can't wait to talk to you. That's it. That can be
right.
super, super simple, very fast because speed is important,
For
and
sure.
very personalized. Now, another place I like to use that too is because we know that oftentimes, I wish I knew the stats off my head. I bet you would, Brian. People aren't even going to buy the initial vehicle that they say that they're interested in, right?
Sure. I would say more than half people never buy that initial vehicle of interest, and for a lot of reasons, right? That it's a different trim level, or the color's not available, or it priced higher than they thought, or maybe they found out they had more equity in their vehicle and price up. So it's about the relationship and communicating that you're there to help, not so much that this is the only vehicle in their consideration set.
Bingo. And there's definitely a time and a place for those walkarounds. You know, let's say, hey, you've gotten to the point where it's like, yes, this is the vehicle, or maybe they're far away, but you could also go out on the lot and show them inventory. Hey, I know you're
Yes.
interested in this, but we've got a lot of inventory here. As your sales consultant and your advocate, I'm going to be here to make sure that that's definitely the right one for you. That helps build trust.
Absolutely. And, let's talk about the technical piece, just in case some dealers don't understand. We're not talking about sending a mega video file to a consumer so it fills up or their email limit or it gets rejected. We're really talking about using a platform that's sending a link to this conversation and it is encouraging them to click that link because you're saying, hey, I've recorded a personal video message for you, right? So it's not about deliverability, it's about creativity.
Yep, bingo, you got it. If deliverability were an issue, I'm telling you that video would fall flat and it wouldn't work at all. But the reason that we're a company and that people use video is because deliverability isn't an issue. You're right. It's something that we're sending them the link where they can click on that and then get that message. And I read recently, thought this was an important thing to bring up to people as well, because they often ask, well, how long should my video be? It's going to depend on what your message is, but usually 30 to 45 seconds is plenty. You don't need
Right.
to.
And that's a long time. You could say a lot in 45 seconds. I know that. So is the mistake that a lot of dealers make, Margaret, is that they're recording too long videos?
That's usually not the issue. They're just having a hard time getting over the hump about using video in general because they think I have to do it perfectly. And they start to, worry about their background, worry about their script. They want to memorize a script. If you want to get frustrated quick, try to memorize a script and say it word for word. Trust me, it's a great way to give up. So that's why I always want to tell people to think about it like a video voicemail, right? When you leave someone a voicemail, which as we know, we're leaving a lot these days because people
That's
do
right.
not pick up the phone. So same thing, you've got a little bit of a general idea about what you're going to say. Don't overcomplicate it. So the message isn't changing. The medium is changing, not the message, just the medium.
Yeah, and I think that one of the benefits of getting this video message out, it also helps the consumer remember the dealership and the person. And I'm just going to say that when I've shopped for cars and maybe have put leads forms in a few dealerships, when someone calls me, I forget like, oh, what vehicle did I, put a lead in for? And often get confused. And that's because for me, I have a little problem remembering names and faces until like I have a meal with them or talk with them a few times. So what the video really does is help brand. Like for me, I'm seeing a face, I'm seeing Margaret. Now, whenever I see you, I'm really like, I know her because
exactly.
So I think there's a little bit of this familiarity that is built. And then what about then a live conversation? Let's talk about that. Somebody likes the video negotiation. And so within the platform, can they do a live call and have this conversation, or is it all record and send?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Brian, because actually we're so excited. We've got a new feature coming out called Meetings where people can do live conversations. So it's those one-on-ones. The benefit to that is you don't need an extra tool to do those live video conversations, and it automatically records it for you. So let's say they say, hey, can you send that to me afterwards? Yep, no trouble. And then that automatically uploads and you can send them that live recording there as well. So it's your one-stop shop for your video needs.
So live interactions plus a recorded conversation that can be sent to the customer so they know, hey, just for your records, these are all the things we talked about.
Exactly. Share it with your spouse, your family, other decision makers, whoever. Just remind yourself about
That's so smart.
The things that we went over.
So let's talk about dealer success stories.
Yeah.
A dealer who is listening and watching to this podcast might be sitting on the fence and say, like, what could I expect If
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend some money on a video communication platform, creating that wow first impression, branding my dealership with the experience that I want to communicate, is that we're thinking of ahead, we're relational, we're using modern tech, all those positive things that video says. What kind of lift in engagement rate or appointment set rate or appointment show rate, what could we do to quantify the return on investment if the sales teams really lean in?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. I've got some really sexy stats to share with you because I
Right.
think this is where dealers, especially, your numbers guys and gals, are really going to get
That's it.
excited.
They run
So,
their business by the numbers. Someone told me that when I first got started. Brian,
huh?
dealers run their business by the numbers. You better be able to quantify what your marketing will deliver to them or your SEO. And in this case,
Mhm.
what does video communication as that first lead response, as that personal walk around, as that qualifying communication or live now, your live conversations, what could they expect?
Yeah. So a couple things here. One, and first and foremost, hey, you've got to get those emails opened. So a 19% increase in your open rates. And it's
Great.
important for me to say, use the word video in your subject lines. Nobody
For
knows there's
sure.
a video in there unless you tell them, but people love video. It's how they consume most of their information and do their research these days. So they're attracted to it. So first and foremost, 19% increase in your email open rates, up to a 65% increase in your engagement rates, which means someone actually reading, consuming that message, right? So, hey, they might open it, but are they actually getting that message? And what's cool about video is we can quantify that. If someone spends a certain amount of time on an email, maybe we know that they opened it or not, but on a video, we can see, did they watch that all the way through? Did
Right.
they?
That's important.
And so we're seeing an increase in that, and then up to a 200% increase in your response rates, which is
Mm,
really what we're looking for here, right? So
right.
that's not saying, a 200%, that's crazy, but from where you are right now, you can expect a pretty big lift in that, in getting more responses. And that's because people connect with that, knowing that there's another person on the other side. Your trust building, your rapport building, you're bringing storytelling and personal branding all into your sales process before you've even met them face to face.
That's right. And when we talk about 200%, let's put that in context. Let's just say you send out an email and only 10% of the people respond to that initial email. What we're talking about is a 30% response rate, which would be a 200% increase. And any dealer understands time to market, time to communication, and time to setting appointment is absolutely important. If you're in a competitive marketplace where there's more than one franchise dealer in that marketplace within a reasonable driving distance, time is absolutely important. Now, for dealer groups, this is a technical question, but I think it's worth bringing up.
Yeah.
There are centralized BDCs
Hmm.
where the dealer group may not brand all their stores the same, right? Like,
Hmm.
so the Morgan Auto Group here in Florida, the name of their stores, none of them say Morgan in them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Versus, maybe the Weiler Automotive Group in Cincinnati, it's, Jeff Weiler Nissan or Jeff Weiler Kia. Okay. We have two models. In the centralized BDC, how do the videos get branded with the appropriate store,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So does the caller have to create an initial lead response for each, like the agent for each store, or would you just make it more generic? What do we do when one person may be talking to somebody on behalf of the Ford store or the Toyota store or the Chevy store?
Yeah, super great question. There's a couple different ways we could go about that. It could be a little bit more general if you wanted to. We have something called a video landing page. So that's going to be all branded around your video, where it's got, logo, contact information, links back to your website, all that sort of thing. Now you can either make that general, or we can have different ones, so different links, different backgrounds, or sort of templates for you. And all you have to do is use a drop down and say, hey, I'm sending it from this store or this
Got
store.
it. Got
Yeah.
it. That
You
that
just
makes
change
it
the
super
frame.
simple. Great. So one person could be sending video messages and very aligned with each brand, or as a general, like if it was the Weiler Automotive Group, we could say, hey, I'm a sales associate here at Weiler Automotive. Got it. I love it.
Yeah.
And then as far as training, always a good question. Again, I'm thinking ahead for the dealers who are listening. How long does it take for someone to kind of get up to speed and feel comfortable with using the platform? Is there anything you could share on what a typical dealer startup process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you can imagine, that's going to vary a lot,
Of
mostly
course.
depending upon their willingness. So it usually doesn't depend on their tech savviness, because that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, as being a very low barrier to entry in terms of
Right.
just how easy and user friendly it is to use. We know that that is a, first and foremost, that's got to check the box. And if it doesn't, we're not getting past, out of the starting gate. So usually it's more about their willingness and their buy-in. Am I going to put myself out there? Am I going to give this a try? I would say once a salesperson records 4 to 5 videos, and I'll be honest, the first couple of videos for anyone, they feel awkward.
Right.
You're kind of trying to figure it out. It's like any new sales skill that we're building, whether that's negotiating or public speaking, whatever that is. It takes a little bit of time to, flex that muscle and build that
For
skill.
sure.
Usually though, once you get past 4 or 5, maybe 6 videos at the tops, by that point, you think, hey, forget it. I don't care if I said it exactly right or not. I've got a lot of things to do today, and I know that these videos are making a difference. I'm just going to get them out. So that amount of time can be one
I mean,
day,
that's
week.
very reasonable, Margaret. I mean, think about it. People do FaceTime all the time.
Yeah.
Or Google Meets. Yes, maybe people are more comfortable in front of video, but I will tell you this, for salespeople, they're compensated based on those appointments, shows, and sold. And if I'm a service advisor or in the service BDC, same thing. I'm compensated on how many appointments I'm booking, how many people show, and the revenue generated. So any tool that could give me more opportunities to make money is worth the investment. One of the things that I've always heard, that co-video is a very affordable solution as well, meaning other than dealers understanding they could have a significant lift in connection rates and communication rates, starting those conversations, it's really not a cost barrier. So what's holding dealers back?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, and this is true not just of co-video, but any new platform, dealers want to know, is our investment money and time-wise going to be worth it? Because they've been burned, right? They've been burned on tools that make big promises, and then it's the adoption is a challenge, or they can't get buy-in from their team. So I will tell you, the number one issue that I see is not necessarily with, whether you do it or whether you don't. It's, do you have a plan in place for your team that is clear and actionable? And our team is here to help you with that. I would say, while there are a ton of different ways that you could be using video, I tend to find that that is overwhelming to tell your team, less than exciting. They think, I don't have time in my day to do all of that.
Right. Please record these 20 different videos. No.
Yes. Like anyone would have a meltdown over that, right? That makes me want to lay down and take a nap. But instead, if we say, hey, let's think about where we can get the biggest lift, where we're having some challenges, and address those, maximum start out with 2 different tactics for using video. Maybe that's, hey, every single time we get a new lead in, we're going to give them a call, leave a voicemail, and then wead going to send a video.
Smart.
Right?
That's the low-hanging fruit, right? The biggest impact would be a generic lead response, or if somebody wanted to do one for each person, of course, that would, take a lot more effort. But again, for example, if I'm a Lamborghini salesperson, I may only get 1 or 2 leads a day, right? I'm
you
personalizing.
better believe it's worth your time. You better believe it's worth your time. So another place too that I like to use it just as a reminder for people. If you're getting a lot of people, you're setting the appointments, but maybe you're struggling with show rates, reminder video.
Yeah, perfect.
Brian, you're coming in and visiting us at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. I can't wait to see you. We've got this, and this ready for you. If anything has changed on your end, just let me know. We'll get scheduled. And why that's important is it's always great reminder, right? But there's also a little bit of like a guilt factor when they see someone.
Of course, that you'll have the car pulled up. You have this, and the biggest thing, I think it's the Jedi mind trick, is I'm prepared. I'm investing my time for you. Don't blow me off. And then I think what the reminder video does, if somebody is going to be late, I love these calls. Hey, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. If I was a salesperson, I'm like, man, that reminder video worked. And I think there's obviously so many other ways in which we can record these videos. And remember, the appointment reminder video can be generic. It could be like, hey, this is Brian. I'm just calling, or I just recorded this video today to let you know I'm really looking forward to our appointment. Now, let me tell you what I'm going to have ready. I'm going to have vehicle pulled around for you. I'm going to have all the numbers that we discussed to make it easy for you. So I will just ask one thing. If you're going to be more than a few minutes late, just give me a heads up so I can arrange my schedule to give you all the time that you need. I want to make sure you're completely satisfied with your experience. I'll see you later. Something very generic like that, but the Jedi mind trick.
Wait, let's take a minute. That was really good, Brian. I'm like, hey, take notes, people, because that was perfect. Well done. I tip my hat.
Yeah, because what you're saying is I'm punctual. Like, if you're going to be more than a few minutes late, give me a call so I can rearrange my schedule to give you all the time you need. That's really, I'm organized. I'm expected to be on time. But if not, I do want you to know I'm flexible. These type of scripts can be, start off with a generic one. Once you start seeing the lift, you could start to do more personalized ones. It's all easy to do. Margaret, I am sure there are some dealers here who are seeing their inventory turn rates slow down, floor planning costs are going up. They need to rethink their sales process. And I hope today that this video podcast is one of the ways in which they consider upgrading their sales process. So if a dealer wanted to get a demo or to see some examples of how co-video works, where do they go to set up a demo?
Yeah, go to dealerservices.covideo.com, or you can just Google co-video dealer services. We've got a specific site that's actually created for our dealer partners because we've got a ton of resources. Check out our resources tab where you can see examples, case studies. We've got ebooks for you to get you inspired. And of course, from there, you can schedule a demo with one of our experts. And then I recommend scheduling a demo with an expert first. Then you can do our 7-day free trial. So that way you've got a little bit of training, you've got your questions answered, and then dive into use a whole week.
Love the free trial. And for the dealers who are watching and listening to this podcast, you should know that co-video is one of the educational sponsors at this year's Modern Retailing Conference. If you think about it, the theme is to elevate the customer experience. And of course, video communication will do just that. So you want to make sure that you attend the Modern Retailing Conference because video is just one of those supporting technologies for our main theme. We're going to be talking about first-party data management, personalized communication, obviously relevant communication that increases that engagement rate as part of the data and technology themes of the conference. So go to modernretailingconference.com and get your tickets. The conference will sell out. We're almost sold out. So make sure you book your tickets, lock in your hotel rooms as soon as you can. And Margaret, you're going to be up on the main stage. Are you excited to be in warm, beautiful, sunny Palm Beach, Florida in November? Tell me about it.
As a native Hoosier up here in Indiana, I have to tell you that come November, it is the perfect time to get out of the north. We are just starting to get really crummy weather. And when I said, hey, I get to come down and speak on a panel in sunny Florida, yeah, sign me up. So
Let's
I'll be there.
go.
I can't wait to see you in person and meet everyone who's able to attend. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, super informative, very inspirational as we're looking to 2024. What better way to say, hey, how can we really kick it off and have a fantastic year?
Yes, and for dealers who may be listening to this podcast or watching this podcast for the first time, you should know that there are dozens of interviews with industry leaders, breakthrough strategies, and latest technology. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, just search for the Brian Pash Podcast, or also on YouTube, where you can see us live smiling at each other for sure. I want to thank everyone for listening in today. Margaret, thank you for your time. And remember, there's only a few tickets left to the Modern Retailing Conference. Don't miss it. Only dealer tickets are left. No allied industry tickets are available. It's only for the dealers who are really focused on the future of modern retailing and need to come back with some actionable insights on how to sell more cars in a digital age. Margaret, thanks again. For everyone who's watching, I'll see you next time on another podcast interview.
Did I do okay?
Come on, we did fantastic.